Say what you will about Ted Cruz. Say what you will about Ted. I know some people like Ted Cruz. Some people, not so much. But I will say this. The guy has a great stroke. No, I'm talking about, no. I'm talking about when he's painting. I don't know if you saw this. Ted Cruz went, he climbed up on the side of a highway in Houston, Texas. Apparently, hang on, let me mute this. Let me mute, I knew that was going to happen. Ted Cruz apparently climbed up on the side of a highway in Houston, Texas, because he saw some anti-Charlie Kirk graffiti. It was somebody wrote something very disparaging after Charlie Kirk's murder. After his assassination, they wrote wordy-dird Charlie Kirk on the side of a highway in Houston, Texas. And Ted Cruz was driving around or being driven around. Let's be honest, he was probably being driven. He seems like the kind of guy that gets driven around a lot. And Ted Cruz saw it and said, oh, heck to the no. And got out of his truck or whatever, climbed up and started. Look, I have it right here. Here's Ted Cruz painting over anti-Charlie Kirk graffiti in Houston, Texas. He's got the roller brush there, and cars are just whizzing by, and he's there in his dad jeans and his Cole Haan sneakers, and being very careful not to get any on him. And he's got not one but two pans of white paint, and he took care of business. Now he did say, of course, in a post, this was temporary. He did say in a post this was temporary. He called the DOT in Houston, and he said, look, you guys got to come and take care of this. But in the meantime, he said, now Texans will no longer have to look at that garbage or look at that trash or whatever it was. But Ted Cruz taking matters into his own hands. That's actions speaking louder than words. That's actions actually covering up words with white paint, which is kind of exciting. So, you know what? Hats off to Ted Cruz in this instant, and I posted that earlier today, and people were like, publicity stunt. That guy loves the camera. Look, you know what? Publicity stunt or not, there's no place in this world for that kind of language about somebody who was just living their best life, living their own Christianity, trying to charge others with living a godly life. A guy who didn't drink or smoke or curse or vape or do any drugs of any kind. A guy who was great to his wife and kids, who started a movement, who tried to inspire people in the word of the Lord and also the Constitution and our founding fathers. Nothing bad at all about Charlie Kirk. So hats off to Ted Cruz for doing that. And man, this movement, we talked about it when they shot Charlie Kirk, when that kid, Tyler Robinson, who now apparently we found out allegedly shot Charlie Kirk. Now we found out that he's got this trans girl boyfriend who's apparently rolling over on him. The thing is, Spencer Cox, the governor of Utah, said that they had this guy in custody and he'd come clean or something, or he'd admitted it or confessed. That turns out not to be the case. This kid apparently is not being helpful. He's not cooperating with authorities. Luckily, his trans, are you gay? I don't even know, what, there's a whole thing. But his trans boy girlfriend, is now rolling over on him. That's not what I wanted to say. Is turning state's evidence against him, I guess is the way to say it, and providing the police and the authorities with all the information that they need. Providing the police and the authorities with the information that they have about Tyler Robinson and whether or not they committed this terrible crime, which it seems like he did. We've seen some of the Discord chatter. We've seen some of the things back and forth on the internet, and we're getting more evidence every single day. In fact, Dan Bongino, you may remember Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino is the deputy director of the FBI. He used to be a podcaster, probably will be again one day. But Dan Bongino came out and talked about how this is not just one guy. This is a greater conspiracy.
There appear to have been multiple warning signs. You just laid out some of them. There were people in his network, friends and family, who had stated that he had become more political, that he had become, at some parts, I believe some of his coworkers had stated that he had kind of detached himself when the topic of politics came up and walked away from them. Family members said he'd become more political, leading us to believe that this ideology had infected him and had taken over. And he was just intent, it appears, from the data we've accumulated and the channel and that note, which we have some evidence may have existed before based on the communications in that channel, that his target was obviously going to be Charlie and that people knew in advance. The question is, again, I just want to go back to what you had asked before. Did they know? Were they sure of this? Or did they hear this and just write it off? That's what we're going to have to find out. And that's what we're investigating now. Bill, this investigation is just begun. This isn't even the beginning of the beginning. You know, yes, we have a subject in custody. You know, everybody's innocent until proven guilty in our constitutional republic. However, this is not done by any stretch. Our men and women out there in the Bureau have worked tirelessly all weekend. I just got back to D.C. Last night. And, Cash and I were out there on the scene. We walked the scene. We went through every single component of it. We saw the evidence up close and personal. And we went out there to be able to make command decisions with our team on the ground. And I think the process, although not perfect, of course, I think the process went pretty well considering we got him in 33 hours.
Okay, yeah. So Dan Bongino saying, look, there's this note. Now, this note that he's talking about, apparently Tyler Robinson had a note, found out, and we're still piecing together the timeline. But the timeline, as I understand it, from what I've been able to piece out, is that Tyler Robinson found out Charlie Kirk was going to be at the Utah Valley University event. You may remember, we heard last week from Spencer Cox, the governor, that he went and told his family members, and some of his family members who the media claims are all MAGA, but I don't know. I've never heard a MAGA talk badly about Charlie Kirk, but one of his family members over dinner was talking about how they hated Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk was this despicable, vile person, and they had a conversation about it, and Tyler Robinson was part of that conversation. And then what happened was, allegedly, he wrote this note, or he wrote a note, he posted online. There were some images, I think, online, but they found the note. And the note said something along the lines of, I have the opportunity to kill Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to do it. And then the note was supposedly destroyed. There were online chats where he was talking to folks in his Discord group after the FBI released the video surveillance footage and said, well, can you help us locate this person? And he started talking about how it was a doppelganger. And how he said, look, they've got a doppelganger. And he was joking about hiding the same rifle that he had and all this kind of stuff back and forth. But here is Kash Patel. I think I have this. Here's Kash Patel. Listen carefully. I think this is the one where he mentions the note. Also the DNA of the shooter on the towel.
We flexed all resources the FBI had and surged multiple air assets as soon as this shooting occurred. We were cycling in agents, evidence response technicians, hostage rescue technicians, and special operators in and out of Utah, cycling evidence back and forth on these FBI planes as soon as we could so that there was no delay. And what we did, once I got there, along with the deputy on the ground around 5 p.m. local on September 11th, was walk the entire crime scene, including the foots the suspect himself took. And what we learned was there was evidence, DNA evidence, that could be collected and had been collected, including a screwdriver that was found on the rooftop. Also, we went over to the scene in the wooded area where the firearm was discarded, and the firearm had a towel wrapped around it. It's important. I'll get back to that later. I even walked into the wooded area in the ravine, so I knew from my investigative experience what I could bring to the table and what decisions I needed to make. And having the support of President Trump and the full support of the White House was what we needed for these resources to happen. And I can report today that the DNA hits from the towel that was wrapped around the firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver are positively processed for the suspect in custody.
So there was a screwdriver with DNA on it. There was a towel with DNA on it, which sounds disgusting. But anyway, they processed the DNA on the towel and on the screwdriver, and they said that, yeah, we can confirm that it matches up with the suspect, Tyler Robinson, who, again, that video shows jumping off the roof with his gun. Here's the clip about the note, because this is where it gets kind of weird and important.
You had a written note. Did he write a written note before the assassination attempt? That's what the governor said yesterday. And what did that say, if you could share?
So what I'm able to say, I'm sorry. So what I'm able to say is I addressed it partially earlier, is that the written note, we believe, what did exist, and we have evidence to show what was in that note, which is, and I'm going to summarize, basically saying, the suspect wrote a note saying, I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. That note was written before the shooting. Evidence of its existence, we now have learned, existed before the shooting, was in the location, in the suspect and partner's home. But we have since learned that the note, even though it has been destroyed, we have found forensic evidence of the note, and we have confirmed what that note says because of our aggressive interview posture at the FBI.
I like how he puts that. The aggressive interview posture. We basically browbeat this trans person or whatever, or whoever it is that's involved with this case. We basically browbeat them into admitting that the note said, I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to do it. That note was destroyed, but the forensic evidence and the interview evidence shows that they were able to figure out exactly what that note said. And there's a lot more going on that they've got to figure out. There's a lot more about co-conspirators. There's a lot more about how this thing went down, how it was planned, how it was executed. And then, of course, in the aftermath, was anybody in the aftermath a cohort? Was anyone helping to conceal? Was anyone obstructing justice? Did these people he was talking to on Discord, these friends that he was asking for help, actually aid and abet him in trying to get away from this horrible crime? And that's something that we're all going to have to look into. Listen, before we get way into this, because there's some crazy stuff going on. This Jacksonville rally, or this Jacksonville vigil that I went to last week, is making national news now because of an undercover liberal lunatic nutjob who is trying to push a narrative that just doesn't exist. I'll tell you that story here in just a minute. First, though, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, because what's happened is Charlie Kirk's just created a movement. And, you know, we knew there were a lot of conservatives, and we knew there were a lot of people out there beforehand, but now there's way more than ever before. And people are now openly coming out and saying, yes, I'm a conservative. Yes, I'm a Christian. Yes, I love Jesus. Yes, I love my country. Yes, I support President Donald Trump. Yes, yes, yes. And as that happens, you're going to start to see more and more people that are like-minded, you're going to find more and more folks that have the common sense that you thought maybe was gone in this country. And this show is dedicated to bringing that to you every single day. So make sure you subscribe. If it's your first time ever watching, welcome. Hit that button, set the notifications, tell Facebook or YouTube or Rumble or iTunes or Spotify, wherever you're listening or watching, make sure you tell them, yeah, I like this show and I want to get more of it over. And every single time it's on, I want you to deliver to me the goods. Also known as Mark K. Saves the Republic. Also today, this is kind of cool. We have this link down here in the corner, Catriots.com. Today, we're going to be doing our after party, and our after party is like if you're like, this show's great, but it's way too short, then you're going to want to join up the Catriot Club. The Catriot Club is where we host our after party a couple times a week, and it's more of the show. It's the behind the scenes. It's the stuff we don't get a chance to cover. You know, there's a lot going on, and sometimes we don't get to all of it. It's also a Q&A. You can question, you can answer. I talk directly to everybody. It's really a fun time. Everybody who's part of it loves it, and it's only $10 a month. Now, if you subscribe for the entire year, you get 2 months free. So I can't sweeten the deal any better than that, and that'll happen directly after this broadcast today. Go to Catriots.com to join the Catriot Club and become part of the after party. All right, so last night, there's so much going on with Charlie Kirk and this movement that is now exploding. I mean, it really is just the beginning. They thought this would be the end of Charlie Kirk. This is the beginning of Charlie Kirk. This kid who pulled this trigger thought he was ending TPUSA and the movement for Christian conservatism in America. No, he literally set off a firestorm, and it's erupting. Not just here in the United States of America, but worldwide. Sydney, Australia, London, England, Sri Lanka, all over the place. I mean, you can just Google Charlie Kirk International, and there are rallies everywhere. Sports teams and events are paying tribute and homage to Charlie Kirk. You had RFK Jr. appearing at a Kennedy Center honor. The Kennedy Center, which, man, the Kennedy Center, Donald Trump sure has done an amazing thing. The Kennedy Center used to be a bastion of liberal propaganda, and now it is hosting a Charlie Kirk vigil where people are praying and singing Amazing Grace and talking about how much they love Jesus. This was last night at the Kennedy Center. That's a full house too. That's more people than were there for Les Miserables. I mean, that place, the line was around the corner. Carrie Lake was posting out videos and photos of the line. Thousands of people waiting to get in, paying tribute to Charlie Kirk, honoring Charlie Kirk. They all wanted to pray together. And that's in Washington, D.C. at the Kennedy Center. I mean, that's amazing. Donald Trump has done more for this country and more for our not just our military and our economy and our safety and our crime, but also for our culture. I mean, think about that. When you have something like the Kennedy Center, which has been taken over by liberal ideology, and you bring it back to the people respond. They show up, and they show up for things that they want to show up for. They show up and they support you in greater numbers than they ever have. Remember, there's more Christian, conservative, common sense Americans than there are left-wing lunatic liberals. So if you cater to the left-wing lunatic liberal fringe crowd, you're only going to get so much support. But if you cater to common sense Christian, conservative Americans, you're going to get a multitude of support. And that number is growing every single day, thanks to people like, well, Charlie Kirk. In fact, yesterday I was at there was another vigil in St. Johns County. The Turning Point USA chapter of Creekside High School organized this vigil. It was really incredible. I got wind of it, I guess, on September 11th, on Thursday. I was coming home from one vigil, which I'll get to in a minute, because that's the one that now is going viral. And I got invited to this other vigil, which was last night. And so I went, and it was just, I thought there would be like maybe 500-600 people there. Thousands of people. There were thousands of people there. And I tried to get as much video as I could. Here are people chanting USA, USA. USA, 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 USA. Yeah, and then, which is typical at all of those kinds of events. And then what happened was, when one of the speakers, which, by the way, these kids who spoke from TPUSA Creekside, they were amazing. There was a couple of them from different chapters, but these kids got up. They were so well versed, so well spoken. They loved the country. They loved their savior. It was really an incredible experience. And everyone there with the candles and the praying and everything else. And at one point, the crowd just started yelling out, "I am Charlie Kirk." I am Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk. Yeah, it was such an incredible experience. And the speakers, like I said, everybody was feeling fantastic. And TPUSA, they had a sign-up booth. There were tables. There were people out there saying, "Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Oh my gosh, it's wild." I mean, the movement is growing so fast. In fact, I don't know if you know about this, but the widow of Charlie Kirk was Erica Kirk. She did a special presentation on Friday night. And she was angry, of course, and she was sad. But the one thing she said was, join a TPUSA chapter, start a TPUSA chapter. If you're interested in starting a TPUSA chapter, then you should go to tpusa.com. And she said, that's what my husband did on his podcast every single day. Go to tpusa.com. If you go to tpusa.com, then you can start a chapter at your high school, start a chapter at your college, start a chapter here. You can get involved. And over the weekend, 32,000 new requests for TPUSA chapters came in. I checked on Saturday morning, it was 11,000. Now it's upwards of 32,000, probably even more. And that's because of that one announcement by Erica Kirk live from her husband's podcast studio. Join a TPUSA chapter now. They had, and I did the math earlier, I stink at math. They had like 1,100 high school chapters and like 8,000 college. They had something like 10,000 chapters. Now they have 30. They've tripled or quadrupled their size in just a couple of days. So this guy who thought he was going to silence the TPUSA movement, he made it even bigger. In fact, speaking of Charlie Kirk's podcast, guess who's co-hosting or guest hosting today? That's the other thing. Charlie Kirk's podcast will continue. Charlie Kirk's movement will continue. Charlie Kirk's radio show will continue. TPUSA will continue. And today, guess who they got to guest host to fill in, to share stories of Charlie Kirk? If you guessed Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, then congratulations. You're 100%. Think about this. Think about the power that Charlie Kirk had, this 31-year-old the 31-year-old, leader who built such a media following, who built such a following and was such a servant of the Lord that he had the friendships with the highest and the most powerful people in the country, in the world, really. And JD Vance came onto his podcast to guest host after his death. This is the vice president. Pretty important guy with a lot to do, but he knew that this was just as important as anything else, probably more so. And one of the reasons is, and he tells the story because, look, we all know that President Donald Trump may not have gotten elected without Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, but JD Vance says, I definitely wouldn't have been vice president.
The thing is, every single person in this building, we owe something to Charlie. He was a joyful warrior for our country. He loved America. He devoted himself tirelessly to making our country a better place. He was a critical part of getting Donald Trump elected as president, getting me elected as vice president. And so much of our success over the last 7 months is due to his efforts, his staffing, his support, and his friendship. I don't think that I'm alone in saying that Charlie was the smartest political operative I ever met. Everyone knew him as this fearless debater, this guy who would take the conservative message into hostile places and inspire younger generations to have courage. One thing that's hit a lot of those young Americans over the last week was how Charlie was there for them when others were not. When they were afraid to speak their minds, when they were afraid of what a professor would say, when they were afraid that they would be shouted down by their peers, Charlie was there, showing them that they could be courageous and that they could be bold. Charlie was a visionary. He was a luminary. He brought together people. He didn't just teach people how to speak. He didn't just teach people what to say. He didn't just teach people they could actually speak their mind on campus. He created a whole social network for an entire generation of young people. I know people who met their husband, who met their wife, who met the best man at their wedding at a TPUSA event. Because as you guys all know, it's not just about speaking our mind, it's about making friends along the way and creating that support network that won an election and that staffed the current federal government. I owe so much to Charlie. I've had friends reach out in just the last couple of days who sent me messages, screenshots that they exchanged with Charlie in the run-up to me getting selected by the president as his vice presidential running mate. And it's such an honor to have people show me that Charlie said, we want JD to be the VP nominee. And I just had a conversation with the president, and I think things are actually going well. I think he's actually going to choose JD Vance. Do you know what it means to me that such a good guy, such a good friend, such a lion and visionary of our movement was advocating for me? So I wanted to use this show today to advocate for Charlie, to talk about him, to talk about what kind of a guy he was, to talk about what kind of a man he was, what kind of a husband and father he was, and to take people, most of them from inside the administration, but some of them from without, who knew Charlie best, and to talk about what he meant to them, what he meant to this administration, and what he meant to the conservative movement.
This is I mean, if you think about it, this is the sitting vice president of the United States of America. He's second in line to the presidency, and he's filling in for a podcast. Now, that's not to belittle anyone. That's to say that is an incredible honor to Charlie Kirk, and it should inspire you to, if you didn't already, understand and appreciate what Charlie Kirk meant to not just the United States of America, but to the administration in power and to the people who made up that administration. And if Charlie Kirk is out there petitioning for JD Vance and pushing for JD Vance and texting JD Vance and saying, I think we got you. We're talking to the president. We're making it happen. If he's working behind the scenes to get JD Vance elected as vice president, which, let's be honest, JD Vance is the front runner. Donald Trump's already said it himself, to be president in 2028. If that's going to, if it's Donald Trump Vance, if it's Trump Vance in 2024 and Vance Rubio in 2028, both of those elections are because Charlie Kirk wanted it that way. That is an incredible feat for somebody so young. And that is why he's so beloved and so well remembered, because he stood up for what he believed. He found people who also believed what he believed, and he helped them get into positions where they could protect the rights of the rest of us to say and believe and practice as we would like to without anyone else standing in our way. And it's not, and look, it's not just JD Vance. It's not just President Trump. It's everybody in the administration. Stephen Miller was a treasured friend, of course, of JD Vance. Of Charlie Kirk. And he swung by to talk about that. Not just what Charlie Kirk meant to him, but of course, what they're going to do to these lunatics on the left who caused the political ideology to seep into and to poison the murderer.
I've known Charlie for 10 years. He was a treasured friend. And, this is going to sound, he made you believe more in yourself, is the best way I could put that.
That's right.
He was your biggest cheerleader. He would, if I was working on a hard project, an important executive order, a major new initiative, he would give me the strength and the focus to get it done.
That's right.
He was everybody's supporter, enthusiast, cheerleader, promoter. He made all of us better every single day. The memory that I keep turning to is not a single memory. It's a period of a couple months after we won the election. And Charlie was in the campaign or the transition office every single day. And from dawn till dusk, volunteering his time to get into the weeds, the nitty-gritty of government. And he was so damn excited. I mean, it really hurts to think about it right now. He was so excited about all of us being here. And we would be talking about every executive order, every new regulation, every new policy plan. It was such a thrill for me to get to spend a few months of my life, because, he came from the nonprofit, the activist world. I came from the government world. And in this transition, to be able to work hand in hand, take all of his ideas from being the leader of TPUSA, spending time with college students, spending time with activists, and then be able to be with us at the transition to plan out the next step of our government, that was an experience for which I will always be grateful. And the last thing I'll say is that, to my earlier point, Charlie would send me messages all the time, just saying, great work, or here's a new idea, or here's what I think will take this to the next level. And I took them all to heart. And God, I just love the man so much.
It is truly, first of all, to see Stephen Miller get emotional over somebody is something I never thought I would see. But Stephen Miller is, when he says he comes from the government side, he's right. He is a government bulldog. He is the pit bull. He is the executor of all of these executive orders. When they say, hey, let's get rid of all these illegal immigrants, they made Stephen Miller the chief of staff, the deputy chief of staff in charge of immigration. And he's been doing an incredible job. And he said, look, Charlie Kirk worked with us as an activist. He came down to Mar-a-Lago. He worked with us on the transition team. He helped us put the executive orders in place and in order so that we had the next step of our government. It's a dream come true for someone like him, and something that is so, what Donald Trump has done now in the first 6 months of his presidency and what he's going to be doing for the next several years of his presidency, it's all thanks in part to Charlie Kirk, not just for the election, but for planning the second administration, Trump 2.0. He was crucial, and you heard it there from the administration, and that is why Stephen Miller is like, look, we're not going to let these people get away with this.
Walk me through, at a high level, like what you and I have been working on, what the whole administration has been working on to try to make sure that we don't reward and promote this craziness.
Yes, so it's an excellent question. I said this before, but it bears repeating. The last message that Charlie sent me was, I think it was just the day before we lost him, which is that we need to have an organized strategy to go after the left-wing organizations that are promoting violence in this country. And I will write those words onto my heart, and I will carry them out. If people ask me, what emotions I'm feeling right now, this is something people say, you kind of know the answer. There's incredible sadness, but there's incredible anger. And the thing about anger is that unfocused anger or blind rage is not a productive emotion.
Right.
But focused anger, righteous anger, directed for a just cause is one of the most important agents of change in human history.
Charlie showed that. Amen.
And we are going to channel all of the anger that we have over the organized campaign that led to this assassination to uproot and dismantle these terrorist networks. So let me explain a little bit what that means. So
I've got 30 seconds, so be quick, Stephen.
The organized doxing campaigns, the organized riots, the organized street violence, the organized campaigns of dehumanization, vilification, posting people's addresses, combining that with messaging that's designed to trigger and incite violence, and the actual organized cells that carry out and facilitate the violence, it is a vast domestic terror movement. And with God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people. It will happen, and we will do it in Charlie's name.
Yeah, and that is something that he's now vowed. And Donald Trump has also said, look, Donald Trump was asked about this. He said, what is happening? Who is responsible for this, and what are you trying to do? And Donald Trump said, look, these are sick, twisted individuals.
But we are looking at names. We don't like that. That's not right. We wouldn't celebrate if something happened on their side, and we don't. These are sick people. These are really deranged people.
And they're well-funded, and they're organized, and they have proponents in government, and they have cheerleaders in government, and they have high-ranking officials in the Senate. You've got actual elected officials in the Congress, in the Senate, in various other places in the government. You've got operatives, and we've seen them all popping up. We've got military men and women. We've got people in local and state, city councils and departments of education and state houses that were cheering and celebrating openly online, publicly, the death of Charlie Kirk. We know who these people are. We know that every time there's a violent protest, a fiery but mostly peaceful protest, as CNN would call, we know that they're not spontaneous. We know that they're paid for. When buses and buses and buses of agitators show up with perfectly printed signs, we know for a fact that they're getting money. It used to be from USAID. Maybe it's from George Soros. Maybe it's from both. But it stops now. Donald Trump says, look, we know where the problem is. And now we are going to bring these people to justice.
Do you plan on investigating?
We'll see. We'll be announcing. They're already under investigation. They're already under major investigation. A lot of the people that you would traditionally say are on the left.
They're already under investigation?
Already under investigation. Well, the problem is on the left. If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left. That's not the right.
Yeah, and that is something that Donald Trump has pointed to repeatedly. RICO violations, if you would, racketeering violations for organizations that promote violence, flag burning and rioting and looting, and whoever's dropping all those bricks in the middle of the street whenever there's some kind of spontaneous riot that pops up, automatically there's bricks just sitting there so that people can hurl them through windows and at cop cars. Those aren't spontaneous. What happened in LA was not spontaneous. All of these are organized, and Donald Trump knows that there's people on the left behind them, and he said that's all going to stop. We're not going to let these people get away with it because they're lunatics. They're sick, twisted people. Speaking of sick people, there's this woman from Jacksonville, Florida, which is wild because I, too, am from Jacksonville, Florida. And there's this woman from Jacksonville, Florida who went viral. Her name is Hey It's Twig. May not be her real name. Hey It's Twig online. She went to the same Charlie Kirk vigil that I went to on Thursday night, Thursday, September 11th in Neptune Beach, Florida. She went to the same Charlie Kirk vigil I went to. Now, as someone who was there, I can tell you what happened. She went undercover as, I guess, a mourner, as a conservative Christian who was truly distraught by the death of Charlie Kirk. She went undercover, she brought a camera, and then she tried to report back as to what she saw. But the videos she posted online really kind of contradict her own words about this vigil. Watch, here's a little bit of it. Watch this.
I just went undercover at a Charlie Kirk vigil 20 minutes from my house.
Wait a minute. I want to check, by the way. She's wearing a hat.
I just went undercover at a...
Now it's not a MAGA hat. It looks like just like a green hat, but now she's reporting and she goes, I went undercover at a Charlie Kirk vigil 20 minutes from her house. So she's from somewhere in the Jacksonville area. And ironically, I was standing probably 20 feet from her at this rally, or at this vigil, which I didn't even realize.
Charlie Kirk vigil 20 minutes from my house. As someone who has always been against Charlie Kirk and everything that he has stood for, I went into this with an open mind.
Okay, now I'm going to pause right there. As somebody who's always been against Charlie Kirk and everything he stood for, which is God, Jesus, family, clean, healthy living, America, the Constitution, the rule of law. And I could go on and on and on and on. As someone who stood against everything Charlie Kirk stood for, she's against all that. She's against God. She's against Christianity. She's against Jesus. She's against clean living. She's against families. Strong family. She's against the United States of America. She's against the Constitution. She's against the Bill of Rights. She's against President Donald Trump. She's against making America great again. That's all the stuff. I mean, there's more, but that's basically the gist of what Charlie Kirk stood for. She's against all of that. So we kind of she's already described to us what kind of person she is. But then she says, I went into this with an open mind. Okay, if you went into it with an open mind, why did you have to go undercover? If you went into it with an open mind, why did you have to hide or conceal your identity? Also, why did you go undercover? I don't think anybody knows who you are anyway, but I digress. There's more.
Intention, I should say, of being open-minded. That intention is gone. This vigil, which I will also be uploading videos of, was divisive. It was filled with divisive rhetoric.
Okay. I was there. In fact, you know what? I have some clips. Let me go. I have some clips. Here is a clip from the vigil, the same one. We were at the same vigil. I was there. Hey, It's Twig was there. I was there as me. She was there as some undercover, open-minded person. And she heard a lot of divisive rhetoric. Let me play you this one clip here from the vigil.
To the oceans, wide with foam, God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Okay, so if you were listening to the podcast, basically that was just a clip of a crowd of people holding candles in memory of Charlie Kirk, standing very quietly together. The civic leaders on the podium up at the front, not screaming, not yelling, not saying shut down the city, not cursing, not saying you've released the whirlwind and you will pay the price or pay the piper or whatever it was Chuck Schumer was yelling and screaming, just standing there singing God Bless America. That was to this woman from somewhere. That was, I guess, divisive language. Well, let me go back. I gotta pull her back. Here's let's get to the rest of her monologue here. This is Hey, It's Twig, the undercover, open-minded liberal.
Well, the problem is on the left. If you look at the problem is on the left.
I just went undercover at a chapel. They targeted transgender people. They targeted anyone who was not a Christian. Hold on. I gotta, wait a minute. I went too far. She's uploading. It was divisive. It was divisive rhetoric. Here's where she says here's where it gets good. They targeted Islamic people. They targeted transgender people. They targeted anyone who was not a Christian. I will add these videos. I'm going through the videos right now. My camera is right here and my iPad is charging. I recorded the entire thing. We had a public official say that during his workday, he would watch Turning Point USA. Under the taxpayer's dime. Some of the comments, there were grown women sobbing. Yes, Jesus, yes, Jesus. Followed by a pastor talking about cotton candy priests and how transgender people, 70% of transgender people are aged 13 to 17 or some wildly inaccurate statistic. I just got home. I'm trying to decompress and just process what I just witnessed. Oh God. Nobody recognized me. Oh, my contact's falling out.
But this is where it gets really interesting. Nobody recognized me. I still don't know who this woman is. Nobody recognized me. Like she's some kind of famous undercover reporter, some kind of journalist. Like it was, I don't know, Christiane Amanpour rolled on into Neptune Beach and went undercover to, it was Diane Sawyer throwing on a wig and some glasses and strolling on in to try to figure out Don Lemon. It'd be like if Don Lemon rolled into Neptune Beach undercover at a Charlie Kirk rally and was like, nobody recognized me. Well, no kidding, because nobody knows who you are. I digress.
Yeah, my contact just fell out. Nobody recognized me, though. That was kind of one of my worries with this is somebody going to recognize me? Again,
look, I mean, the ego on the left is it's just uncanny.
Vocal and adamant. I've always been someone who opposed Charlie Kirk and Turning Point. I would not want to be remembered with a vigil like the one I just saw for Charlie Kirk.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think anyone's going to remember you at all, so you don't need to worry about that. You're definitely not going to get a vigil like the one that... here's another clip. Here's another one. This is another part from the vigil that I attended, that she attended. The same gosh darn vigil. Here it is. This is her... this is another clip I took from this vigil of Charlie Kirk that she's referring to as divisive, as vitriolic rhetoric toward people. Listen carefully. Oh, by the way, I think I recognize her in that clip. Kidding. I still don't even really know. Anyway, her name is Hey It's Twig. She has a YouTube channel, by the way. I think she posted, hang on. She started posting some of these. Yeah, here we go. She started posting some of these clips from the, let's go here to the screen. She started posting some clips from this thing that she attended that she says, oh, here's more. Here's one.
And I just got banned on TikTok for sharing what really happens at a Charlie Kirk vigil. Last night, I went undercover to a Charlie Kirk vigil in Northeast Florida, and I posted videos of the speakers that were at this event. They were saying things.
So now she's saying she got banned on TikTok for posting what the speakers said, which I'll be honest with you. Again, I was there for all of the speakers. I know she has on YouTube something. Here we go. So here is a pastor. I forget his. Oh, here's Clay Yarborough. He's a state senator. Let's listen to him quickly.
Will never be forgotten. They started the fight before the terrorists were even gone.
That's not him. That's Rory Diamond.
And that's what this feels like to me. Us standing up to fight. Because we were attacked yesterday. And we are starting to fight. But how do we fight? We fight with prayer. We fight with his guidance. We fight for unity. We fight for love. And most importantly for me, and I suspect for many of you, we fight to keep the conviction that we will never let Charlie's death be in vain.
Okay, I understand what she's saying now. She said that they attacked Islamic people. Okay, this was on September 11th. And Rory Diamond was discussing the September 11th attacks and how we felt after the September 11th attacks. And that may be what she's referring to. Let me see what else we got.
Wish for peace in our hearts. We in turn hope.
Oh, that's John. He's from the Young Republicans of Duval County. There's Scooter. Let's see. Here's Clay Yarborough.
Leaders I've ever met, Senator Clay Yarborough.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, everybody, for being out here tonight. When I was preparing some remarks for tonight, I did not realize what the other speakers would be talking about, but it seems like we have the very appropriate theme going about not only talking about Charlie's faith in Jesus Christ, which is most important and which is the only thing that matters now that he's in eternity, but also as I look across the crowd tonight, we have multi-generations represented here. It's young and older here. We have everyone in the mix here tonight, and so it's very appropriate, especially as we're talking about what's important for the future and what's important for our young people who are here. It's very fitting that we're talking about this tonight. So this evening, We are gathered with heavy hearts. The tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk has shocked us all, and regardless of whether one stood in agreement or disagreement with his views, everyone should acknowledge this truth. A human life has been lost.
I mean, so far I'm missing the divisiveness. I'm missing the biting rhetoric that is supposedly divided. I'm missing why you wouldn't want to be remembered this way.
A soul created in the image of God was taken through an act of violence. And so to Charlie's family, friends, and all those grieving, our prayers are with you. And we ask the Lord to bring comfort, peace, and strength in the face right now of unimaginable sorrow. For the benefit of everyone, but again to the young people especially, I want to speak to your hearts. I know this is confusing. I know some of you are angry, others are afraid, some may not know what to feel at all. But I want you all to hear this, and I'm sure those standing up here with me would agree. God is still with us. He has not abandoned us. Even in the darkest valley, his light still shines. And for believers, we have assurance and hope of eternal life because of the finished work.
Yeah, there you go. So she turned it off because Clay Yarborough was praying. Look, I'll be honest with you. I don't really understand. I don't know. First of all, I don't understand why she had to hide. Why'd she put the camera on the ground? There were tons of people there filming. I was filming. Everybody else was filming. There were tons of camera people there. I don't know why you have to hide the camera. But anyway, again, I'm not one of these liberals. So I have common sense. So I can't really figure it out. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for her. I'm just going to say the whole thing is really bizarre. And also the narrative it's typical. It's exactly what happened after you saw this guy get arrested. It was, what's his name? The guy was, the guy that got arrested, Tyler Robinson. This guy gets arrested, and all of a sudden what happens? He goes out there, and we get a narrative from the left that he's MAGA, that his whole family is MAGA. They're all Donald Trump supporters, that these guys are all out there and they're all shooting guns and Donald Trump lovers, and that Charlie Kirk was killed by one of his own. And that's not the case at all. That was a bold-faced lie. And we know that because we found out that from the governor of Utah that this guy, guess what? He did not want to be associated with any of those things. He spoke to his family members about how horrible Charlie Kirk was. He hung out in fascist Antifa chat rooms, and he also, this was very important, he also was one of those people who was in a transgender relationship. And nothing about that actually screams MAGA. Nothing about that seems like it's MAGA at all. So it's very interesting to me that this would be that would be the narrative, but that's what they try to do. They try to create narratives that they know are wrong, that they know are false, that they know are going to try to rile up one side or the other. And the fact of the matter is that the truth always comes out thanks to, well, like the internet. And people like this girl who tried to tell one story, but when you look at the actual facts, when you look at the actual video footage that she posted, you get a totally different story. She's contradicting herself, which is really kind of crazy. John Fetterman, by the way, he spoke about this as well. John Fetterman, the most intelligent Democrat. Who knew that the Democrat that suffered a stroke would come out being the most intelligent Democrat in the bunch? But he totally was. Listen to this. This is John Fetterman. And he's talking about the left and how they really need a come to Jesus.
Never going to change my party, but clearly we've lost the argument, and right now I think it's entirely appropriate to really be honest and just figure out why exactly have we effectively lost 2 out of the last 3 cycles, and a lot of the things we've really kind of really lost our connection with American voters in ways. And I think we can't just be, well, Trump is always wrong, or that we're going to set the country on fire or whatever. That's just not true either, of course. But, when I represent a state like Pennsylvania, that keeps you honest. And you always can't forget that a lot of Americans happen to disagree with you. That does not mean that they are fascists or now they want to shred the Constitution.
But when you hear some Democrats saying Trump is acting like an autocrat.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. If you actually compare him to an actual autocrat, that is not just that. Now, last night, for example, people were were they were protesting about, oh, that's the Hitler thing. You just don't ever compare anyone to Hitler and those kinds of extreme things. And now look what happened to Charlie Kirk. I mean, the man was shot. Now we have to turn the temperature down. It's like we can't compare people to these kinds of figures in history. And this is not an autocrat. This is a product of a democratic election.
So you don't think that Trump is at all shattering any of the norms of democracy in any way?
I'm saying he's definitely different, but that's what America voted for. Again, I don't agree with many of these things, but that does not make him an autocratic.
But one of the things that I hear from Democrats a lot saying a reason why voters may not like Democrats is because they don't fight hard enough. Democrats should be fighting harder. What do you say to folks who say that?
What exactly is fighting? What is fighting? Delay more votes, or just vote every no on everything, or saying, well, if they're doing X, well, then that means it's wrong, that kind of a thing. It's like, what exactly is fighting?
I'll give you an example. It could be shutting the government down. Like some Democrats say, if this happens, it'll be Trump's fault.
That's not fighting. That's mutilating our nation. If you vote to shut our government down, you are going to harm millions of Americans. And why would you do this? Where's our leverage? It was wrong. It was wrong for the Republicans to do that. Absolutely, that's true. It was wrong for the Republicans to do that. It would just be wrong for us for those things.
Bigger picture.
Okay, so this is John Fetterman, who basically is shutting down. Here's this guy, and I forget his name, but he's from CNN, and he's trying to bait John Fetterman into saying something that goes along with CNN's narrative, and John Fetterman is not taking the bait. He's like dangling hoodies in front of him, and John Fetterman's just like, I got enough. But basically what John Fetterman said is Donald Trump is different, but that doesn't make him wrong. He's different. That doesn't mean he's destroying democracy. The Democrats, they don't like Donald Trump because he's different. This guy goes, well, Donald Trump, he flies in the face of every societal norm. Okay, he's a different person than we've ever had as president. He's different than Joe Biden, thank God. He's different than George Bush and Barack Obama and the rest of them. Doesn't mean he's bad. Doesn't mean he's an autocrat. Doesn't mean he should be shot at. Charlie Kirk, you may not like what he says, but he has every right to say it. John Fetterman saying we need to bring down the temperature. And the guy goes, no, the Democrats aren't fighting hard enough. And John Fetterman goes, what do you mean? What does fighting mean to you? What is fighting? Why don't we fight with our ideas and our words instead? Why don't we come up with some kind of agenda? Why don't we come up with some kind of idea that's actually going to draw people in instead of repel people? Why don't we do that instead? John Fetterman, the most intelligent Democrat? Is that what we've come to now? The guy that used to call himself Fetterwoman, and the guy who stumbled through a debate with Dr. Oz because he was mentally incapacitated, is now the most intelligent, the most down-to-earth, the most commonsensical, and the most humane of all the elected Democrats in Congress and probably around the country. It's really incredible. It's really amazing what's been going on. And it's just wild to see. Now, Donald Trump, speaking of different, is sending in. Well, there's two big things going on with President Donald Trump. The first thing is he's sending in the troops to Memphis. And this is right after. So Washington, D.C. was the model. Donald Trump said Washington, D.C. is very dangerous. There's lots of carjackings. There's lots of drugs. There's lots of homeless people. Washington, D.C. is a place where there's graffiti. It's our nation's capital. The mayor and the chief of police, they've been unable to do anything to help. So what we're going to do is we are going to go in there with the National Guard, and we're going to federalize the government, and we're going to take back control of our nation's capital. And in like 14 days, he did it. Crime dropped. It's safe to walk the streets. He himself went out to dinner. It's amazing what's going on in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump was able to do that with the help of his administration, with the help of the DOJ, and with the help of the National Guard. And so in Memphis, Bill Lee, the governor of Tennessee, is like, hey, can you come fix Memphis? And Donald Trump's like, yeah, sure. And Paul Young supposedly was on board with this, but now that it's actually happening, and I think he's getting some heat from his constituents, he's changing his tune a little bit. But I'm going to go with Paul Young was originally on board with this because that's what Donald Trump said. And the folks in Memphis are really on board with it because they're sick and tired of all the crime.
Several crime prevention organizations who work hand in hand with the city tell Fox 13 they're looking forward to getting some help from the National Guard. Darrell Cowan is the executive director of Hill 901, a violence prevention organization in Memphis. He says last year, many organizations had success fighting crime across the city. The city even saw a 26% drop in homicides from 2023 through 2024. And now Cowan says the National Guard is a good thing. It'll only help push those numbers lower.
Is there an arena that we need some assistance in? Yes. There's a need for more boots on the ground, and evidently this is the way that they plan on getting them. I see that Governor Lee has sent more state troopers. Now we have the National Guard. So it's a whole lot of things and nuances that are taking place that we're just trying to wrap our heads around on how to navigate.
Yeah, and it's not just him. There's tons of people. There's also, here's a woman that lives in Memphis who's thrilled because, let's see. Oh, she goes, it's so dangerous.
And you know, it's just so dangerous that you can't get out of your car, you can't go to the grocery store, you can't go to the market or the service station. So yeah, I want to see the crime stop. And if the National Guard is going to stop the crime, bring them out.
And that is what the citizens of Memphis are saying, because she goes, it's dangerous. I can't go to the grocery store. I can't do anything at all. And if this is what's happening, then bring it on. Bring it on. There was countless reports of just people in Memphis. Look at it. This is video that was taken of two dudes in a Jaguar. They stop their car in the middle of the day on the highway. They get out, start shooting at somebody, and then they just drive away.
Alarming video has been released of a shooting this weekend in the Pinch District. That's in the downtown Memphis area. I want you to take a look at this here. Watch this. You can see two men get out of a red Jaguar SUV that's near the A.W. Willis Bridge and Front Street Saturday morning. The car continues to roll down the street. Those two men start shooting. Pretty disturbing here. This happened just after 10 o'clock Saturday morning in a fairly busy part of the downtown area. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but investigators are telling us several vehicles were struck by bullets. Police believe that same red SUV was also involved in another shooting later that morning. Both those men still on the run tonight. If you know anything or think you recognize these guys, call Crime Stoppers 901-528-CASH. A woman is
so there you go. There's also a woman who, get this woman was carjacked twice in 5 minutes.
I got two guns put in my face within 5 minutes.
At different locations.
It's two different locations.
A mother carjacked at gunpoint. Memphis police are searching for the people they say robbed and carjacked two women at a gas station in Orange Mound.
Now, this happened Saturday night, 10:45 on Lamar Avenue. And tonight, only on Fox 13, the victim breaks down how these terrifying moments all started. Fox 13 Sierra Jordan has that story.
The mother told me all she could think about was her daughter as a gun was pointed at her face. And now she says she is just grateful to be alive.
I was scared, and I was just hoping that he didn't shoot me. And I just threw my hands up and just backed away.
What started as a quick stop.
I mean, that is just like, there's so many cities like this too. There's so many places. Memphis is one of the most dangerous. I think by murder rate, it's like third worst in the country. And look, Jacksonville's in the top 10. We got a crime problem here too. So I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. Well, probably we need if Donald Trump's going down the list, eventually there's going to be National Guard troops marching in downtown Jacksonville. But this is what's happening. And this is why so many people are looking for help from the federal government. Donald Trump's job is to protect all citizens. It's to uphold the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And these are domestic enemies. These are domestic enemies and terrorists. And that's one of the things that he's decided he's going to fight against because, well, it's his job. And it's the oath that he took, and it's the mandate that the American people gave him. And Kristi Noem said, "Yeah, we're going into Memphis, and yeah, we're gonna get the crime out."
Well, the president will be working with the local mayor and the governor in Tennessee to make sure that operations are streamlined and that we're effective and that we're going after the worst of the worst, those criminals that are there, getting them off the streets and making it safer. So it's good to have local leaders that understand the importance of the work that this president is doing, and that you can't have a successful society unless they can be free. Unless they can go out and pursue their dreams and build businesses and live in their homes and send their kids to school and not have to worry about them at night. So the president is very engaged on this issue. He's grateful for the partnership of those local leaders, and we're looking forward to making a big difference there for the people that are in Tennessee.
So that is Kristi Noem saying Donald Trump is ready to go. We're ready to get the National Guard in there. We're ready to make it safe again for people in Tennessee. And what's happening now, or what's happening on the other end of it, is that you've got Donald Trump, who set the scene with D.C., is now moving on to Memphis. And the two of them, those two cities are going to be the benchmark for any and everybody else, or any other city, or any other mayor, any other governor that needs the government's help. Donald Trump's going to say, here's what we can do for you. Just give us a call. And that, pardon me, is nothing to sneeze at. As I sneeze, it just goes, it's Donald Trump's consistent mandate again to make America great again on every level, whether it's the military, whether it's the economy, whether it is crime, whether it's the border, any and all of these things that Donald Trump has been tasked with doing, that Donald Trump has been, it's been decided that Donald Trump by the American people is the best man for the job. And one of those things, of course, is the economy. And Donald Trump's economy is booming, not just with investment, but we see the stock market. In fact, it's all we're waiting for right now is Jerome Powell, the Fed chief, and Donald Trump is like, look, I've been waiting for this dude forever. This dude is too late. And he's got to, the only thing that's not doing well, the only thing that's not working for us is real estate. And that's Jerome Powell's fault.
Any progress on the Fed chairman search?
Well, other than I don't like him.
No, but
he's incompetent. The Fed chairman's incompetent. Sure, I have three people that I like a lot. Any one of them would do a good job.
Mr. President, one more on Venezuela.
But I think you have a big cut. Because I don't think he can help but cutting. It's perfect for cutting. And the thing that he's hurting the most is housing for people. But because we're doing well in everything. Energy's way down. Groceries are down. Everything, almost everything is way down. But housing, because of the Fed, is not what it should be.
And that is something that Donald Trump is looking to change, because he wants every aspect of the economy to grow. And some of these things are out of his control. But, there is one thing, however, which Donald Trump has brought to record heights, and that is gold. Gold is the one safe haven investment. It's up 25% since Donald Trump came back from office. And I'm not just making these numbers up. I got this information from my good friends at Augusta Precious Metals. And Augusta Precious Metals, they're the ones who have created one of the best gold IRA investments. Gold and precious metals, fast, easy, reliable. So many people have found and placed their trust in Augusta Precious Metals with their money. And Augusta, look, they don't mess around. They take large deposits and turn them into safe havens for your money. And as we've seen with President Donald Trump, 25% increases in gold's value. So if you have $100,000 in an IRA or a 401k or, just chilling in the bank, maybe it's time to do more with it. Go to getmarksgold.com, getmarksgold.com. Go there, click on the link in the description of this video, learn about a gold and precious metals IRA from one of the most trusted names in the business, and that is Augusta Precious Metals. They are Better Business Bureau highly rated. They've got 5-star reviews from tons of financial institutions and magazines of record, and they are the only gold place I would trust with your investment. Augusta Precious Metals. Go to getmarksgold.com or click on the link in the description of this video so you can take advantage of that. You can take advantage of that as well. Also, speaking of promises, Donald Trump promised that he was going to get a deal done for TikTok. Guess what? Earlier today, Scott Bessent and Jamison Greer announced there's a deal in place for TikTok.
We have a framework for a TikTok deal. The two leaders, President Trump and Party Chair Xi, will speak on Friday to complete the deal. But we do have a framework for a deal with TikTok.
Look at that. That is a deal that Donald Trump had a hand. I mean, it was Donald Trump's deal. It was his goal. He's a big lover of TikTok. He believes TikTok helped him win the election, and he wanted to save TikTok for all of America's youth, and that's why he got so involved.
I have to say, too, that President Trump played a role in this. We had a call with him last night. We had specific guidance from him. We shared it with our Chinese counterparts. And without his leadership and the leverage he provides, we would not have been able to conclude the deal today.
Yes, as Ambassador Greer said, that the getting to this framework was made possible by President Trump and the high regard that President Trump has for Party Chair Xi. So when the leaders have mutual respect, then the delegations have mutual respect. And as Ambassador Greer said, we were in substantial contact with President Trump last night and then again today.
So there you go. You got all this stuff coming down because Donald Trump said he was going to fix TikTok. He said he was going to save TikTok, and now it appears that that's exactly what he's going to do. Donald Trump said he was going to stop crime in D.C., and he's done it. Now he said he's going to go around the country, and that's exactly what it appears he's going to be doing. Donald Trump is a man of his word. Donald Trump is somebody who doesn't care what other people think of him, what other people say about him. He is going to fight. He's going to do everything he can to make sure that America is the greatest country on earth. And now that left-wing lunatic liberal radicals have taken out Charlie Kirk, one of his best friends, closest advisors, and someone that he credits not just with helping him win the election, but with now we find out from Stephen Miller organizing his second administration, his goals, his executive orders, his cabinet, his hiring, everybody that he put together. We now know that Charlie Kirk wasn't just a spiritual leader. He wasn't just somebody who wanted Donald Trump back in office, but he wanted to help shape the next 4 years, the next 8 years, the next 40 years of the United States of America. And now that he's gone, now that he's been taken from us, the good news is no matter what the left says, no matter what the left does, no matter how they try to spin the narrative with their undercover videos or whatever else they're doing, there are more Charlie Kirks than ever before.
I am Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. There is going to be a huge vigil next week at State Farm Arena in Arizona where the Cardinals play. That's going to be probably one of the biggest ceremonies ever. It seats 63,000 people. I imagine every seat will be filled as people go there to remember Charlie Kirk. Listen, we will continue to bring you all the updates and all the news and everything you need to know going on around the country and with the administration. Donald Trump back busy at work. If there's any more attacks, we're going to let you know who's attacking you. If there's any more lies, we're going to let you know who's telling them. If you need to know the truth, we will let you know the truth each and every day because that's what we do. And all you need to do is subscribe. Subscribe to this channel. If you subscribe to this channel right now, then you're going to get updates. You're going to get notifications. You're going to know when we go live, when we post videos, when we post content. That way you can stay informed. You can stay up to date. You can stay sharp. You'll be inspired knowing that there's more of us than there are of them. You'll stay inspired knowing that there are tons and tons of of Charlie Kirks out there who are fighting to save America, who are fighting for God and fighting for liberty and fighting for freedom and fighting for justice, and that you're one of many, many who are working every single day to fight so we can save the Republic. We're not done either. We got an after party today coming up here in like 5 to 10 minutes. We're going to kick this thing off. If you would like to become a member of the Catriot Club and join us for the after party, which kicks off here in just a minute, like I said, all you have to do is go to catriots.com right now and join. Catriots.com right now. There's a link in the description of this video. It's only